Okay, so it seems like recently, obviously, we've been talking a lot about the streamer awards and essentially all of the stuff that's been happening, especially with the best VTuber category, which is what we're talking about today. Now, obviously, we've talked about it in my previous video about everything to do with it, what really went on. But if you don't know, obviously, the BurntPeanut ended up winning, and obviously, that is great for him. He's had like a crazy year. He averages what, like over 50k on Twitch, which is insane, not just for a VTuber but for a streamer in general, right? 50k is mad every single stream, right? And I do think obviously he does deserve to win the awards that he's won, because I think he won two. He also won another one, I forgot which one it was, but yeah, essentially, yeah, he has won quite a bit, but there has been some fallout obviously over the definition of a VTuber and things. We covered a lot of that in my previous video, and I know, you know, people on both sides of the fences. Some people think that, oh, you know, this doesn't classify, sorry, as a VTuber, or this does classify as a VTuber, or whatever. And again, at the end of the day, I do think the BurntPeanut definitely does deserve, you know, what he has won through a lot of his hard work and everything like that, right? But I do think that maybe the Streamer Awards should have considered the category a little bit, especially the fact that he can actually kind of, you know, said the fact that he wasn't a VTuber, or that he doesn't consider himself a VTuber, and also has actively spoke out against VTuber kind of communities and culture and things like that, which again is totally fine. He can have that opinion, and I think he is a, you know, a good streamer. He's very entertaining, right? But at the end of the day, you know, I think sometimes the categories can get a little bit misconstrued, but obviously, yeah, a lot of people have been reacting to this, and I kind of wanted to go through the reactions from VTubers just to kind of give you guys an idea of what the overall reaction is, because, you know, you might see the very negative side of it, you might see the very positive side of it. Either way, you know, it doesn't really matter. But again, these are the reactions. Obviously, you got Kitsu there, which we've already talked about. But here we go. We got obviously Ironmouse saying, "Let's go VTuber." And if you don't know, these people were all nominated. These first three people here. Ironmouse saying, "Let's go VTubers." Obviously, a lot of support from her, as well as Mori Calliope saying, "Peanut Sweep, huge congrats." And finally, Chibi Doki as well saying, "Congratulations." Three of those people were all nominated as well, alongside you know, the BurntPeanut, as well as Kenji. Kenji hasn't commented on this one, but again, you know, it seems like it is very positive coming from the other VTubers. And I'm sure that a lot of VTubers want to make this into a positive thing and not into a negative thing, because it could turn out pretty bad. You know, a lot of people attacking, you know, Peanut and things like that over the fact that he has, you know, won the award and whatever. That could obviously spiral a little bit out of control and maybe not look too good for the overall VTuber community in general. And I think that a lot of people, including the Lena Lazard tweet that we saw, you know, a couple of hours ago, you know, obviously she was talking about the fact that let's turn this into a good thing. Remember, you know, there's a lot of good things that have gone on in the VTubing community and the actual VTubing community, because you got to understand that the BurntPeanut won Best VTuber, and, you know, obviously because he is kind of technically a VTuber, right, with this, you know, Peanut thing. But he's not really in the VTuber community, right? He's a VTuber avatar, but not in the community, because obviously, you know, he just doesn't gel with it, and that's totally fine, as I said. But again, people were trying to remind everybody of all this good stuff that has gone on within the community itself as well, because I do think there's been a lot of achievements and things, including obviously the you know, release of V cards and everything like that. People have talked about. That's what Lena mentioned in her tweet, as well as so many other great events. Obviously, Ironmouse raising a lot of money for charity, and, you know, obviously there's been some drama and some not so good news as well. But I think there's been totally a lot of good things that have come from the VTubing community, right? Also, just to kind of add in here, because Ironmouse did actually make a like kind of response thing after recording this video. Essentially, she says, "Me cringing at all of the people mad that Peanut won. Every VTuber in that category deserved to be there." And obviously, yeah, that is the response that she put to obviously all the hate that's been going towards Peanut and things. And yeah, I think that is obviously a very just kind of calming things down thing to say, because obviously, yeah, it's gone pretty heated over on Twitter, especially over something that doesn't really matter that much. I'm going to be honest, it is the Streamer Awards. We've already gone through, as I said throughout this video, you know, about how the Streamer Awards has been a little bit sketchy and things in the past, to the point where people have stopped caring about it, right? And the same goes for like whenever Ada Ross apparently wants to make his one too. I think it's going to depreciate both of the Streamer Awards, and yeah, it's essentially going to lose a lot of meaning at some point. But for now, obviously, some people care about it very deeply, but at the end of the day, I don't think you really should. It's not exactly the be-all and end-all. It doesn't have the kind of prestigious nature that an Oscar or like a Grammy or whatever has, because again, you know, it's just a show made by one streamer, right? And I think some people do take it way too seriously, get way too in it, and I think Ironmouse is doing the right thing, especially with her replies to a lot of stuff, in terms of just trying to calm things down and just be like, okay, who cares? Like, you know, she's cringing that people are mad that Peanut won. Again, obviously, yeah, I'm sure that maybe they are a little bit disappointed behind the scenes, but there's no point to kind of incite any kind of hatred or anything towards anybody. It's not really, as I said, it's not a big deal. It's really not that big of a deal, and everybody is almost being like perpetually like rage baited into this kind of stuff to kind of fighting for their favorite VTuber or whatever, which I think is kind of crazy and just stupid, right? And there's been a lot of people saying people are already getting pressed over some goofy award show that literally means nothing. I thought we were past award shows meaning anything, which, yeah, 100% is true, right? I think people are starting to get fed up of things like award shows. There's two things that people are getting fed up of in terms of media, right? It's award shows and game journalists and reviews. You guys saw those Where Wins meat reviews made by IGN and stuff. People are getting fed up of those too, right? And people are getting fed up of, you know, people at the top telling other people that they're good or bad or whatever, depending on what they get voted for or reviewed or whatever, literally anything, right? I've been saying Base Mouse for saying this, said, well said, a VTuber won the VTuber award. It said, Mouse, I think people are more upset over the fact that VTubers work with amazing artists and spend a lot of time and effort with their models, and Peanut is basically a Snapchat filter. Obviously, again, some people are still rebuttaling points and things, but as I said, I'm just kind of in the middle here. I don't really care at the end of the day. As I said, it's the streamer awards. Don't get too heated about it. It's not that big of a deal. And there's been so many more reactions, again, from other VTubers. Smugglerana saying WPeanut, Onigiri saying amazing, you know, a ton of other people saying this is nuts, you know, as well as a lot of HoloLive members as well, HoloE and Liz saying congratulations Peanut, huzzah. And obviously as well, there was a tweet from Kiara too, talking about the whole HoloLive screw up that they did over on the kind of stream awards, saying someone quote retweeted it, turning him into peanut butter, which is pretty crazy. Some people saying most of the big VTubers congratulate him. All of the no-name fresh spawn VTubers or fans of 3K follower VTubers are mega mad, which, yeah, obviously I do think there's a lot of people who are mad at this, and I can understand, as I said, both sides of some people being mad, some people being happy, some people being in the middle, right? Again, it's one of these things where, yeah, I think if the people who were a part of the category don't think it's anything ridiculous, obviously Ironmouse, Morikalapi, and Chibi, if they all think that, you know, this is fairly won and they think that he classifies as it, then sure, I think that, you know, people should kind of let it go. And I think also as well, people got to remember it is the Screamer Awards. We've talked about how kind of dodgy a lot of the nominating systems have been, and how unfair a lot of the kind of nominating systems have been in terms of, you know, the people that they're bringing over, and in terms of the you know, QT's friends being nominated for awards. I don't think any of them won, which I think is crazy, when you could have added someone else in there who maybe had a better chance and maybe had a bigger audience that wanted them to win. Again, there were so many different factors like that too, that a lot of people have just stopped caring about the Stream Awards, and that is also a sentiment that's been coming across with this entire situation, is essentially the fact of people being like, who cares? It's the Streamer Awards, it's the LA Friend kind of awards, whatever you want to call it, and that's about it, which, again, I can also see on that side. Obviously, some people are saying, for God's sake, can VTubers stop complaining already? Peanut won, and yes, he counts as a VTuber, even if he uses a filter, which, yeah, I could, yeah, totally understand that he does, you know, technically count as a VTuber. Again, as I said, I think there is a big difference between, obviously, a VTuber and also being in the VTuber community. There's two things, right? And he does count as a VTuber. So he's using an avatar, just not an anime girl. Stop being negative just because Yoroshi didn't win. Be grateful for the nomination, please. Obviously, yeah, obviously this was the tweet that we saw from Kitsu saying non-VTuber won the best VTuber award. It got over 4.5 million views at the moment, which is absolutely crazy, and 39,000 likes. A lot of people as well, Ufi saying, before the elitists and haters start saying he's not a real VTuber, you're also telling PNG tubers and other VTubers who don't spend money on their models that they're not real VTubers too, which again, I do actually think is true as well. I think that, you know, there's a lot of PNG tubers out there who also, yeah, don't kind of, you know, who aren't like a fully like 60k VTuber model, but they still classify as a VTuber because they're in the space. They might just not have the money to spend on a big model like that, right? But again, I think it is also the the case of self-identification as well. Obviously, as well, you know, the BurntPeanut has said that they aren't a VTuber, which I think does add a little bit more clarity to it, like add a little bit more kind of nuance to the situation, because if he went out and said that he was a VTuber and said, yes, I'm always a VTuber, I'm just a VTuber, and that's it, but I'm a VTuber as a peanut, then sure, I think everybody could just be on board with that and be like, okay, yeah, that's fine, he's a VTuber, whatever. But I think the thing that's added a lot of kind of, I guess, backlash and controversy and whatever you want to call it, right, is the fact that he has said that he doesn't like it. Now, again, lots of people are saying that's a joke, but he said it multiple times and hasn't really clarified that it is a joke. Again, a lot of the kind of stuff that you see from, you know, the clips and all of the kind of videos that you see from him, sometimes you can't tell. And I think that obviously that has also, you know, kind of stirred this up even more, because a lot of people don't really know what's going on. So they just assume that he's being 100% serious, because again, he could be joking about not being a VTuber. But, you know, also it doesn't really help your case when you're going for best VTuber and continuing with the narrative that you're not one. Which I think is, you know, pretty interesting. A lot of people say, a non-VTuber winning best VTuber really confirms the stream awards are a whole circus. And then obviously there's this tweet here saying, I don't doubt this guy is highly entertaining, fun, and makes quality content. He deserves recognition. 100% true. They say, but is anyone else a little bit bummed that VTubers were hardly nominated outside of the VTuber best VTuber category, and best VTuber went to someone who doesn't even consider himself a part of the community? I feel a little bit disheartened, not gonna lie. It is funny, but sucks to see your community and what you're passionate about not being taken seriously or get a seat at the table. Which, yeah, I think is true. I think that is one of the, you know, kind of more true statements that I've seen. You know, I don't think this is to put down the BurntPeanut or anything. I think he has done a great job in terms of, you know, his content and growing. Like, it's been insane to see, right? But at the same time, yeah, you know, there is such little VTuber representation outside of the kind of VTuber category, and I think the only one was what, best collab. That was it. Best collab, not collab, duo. Sorry, with Seadog and Ironmouse. I think that was the only one that I saw another VTuber. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's like one more. But again, there wasn't much representation outside of that category, including, for example, like the Dokibird category. I say the Dokibird category, the Marvel Rivals category, which Dokibird should have been nominated for 100%. But again, didn't end up being nominated and ended up being, you know, kind of replaced by people who barely play the game, and sometimes even just play the game for sponsors, which I thought was pretty insane. And it does become a little bit, you know, I guess like people become unhappy, because I'm not saying like there should be some major uprising against the streamer awards or anything like that, but you could totally see why a lot of people in the VTuber community are pretty like bummed out by it. You know, they want to be recognized, they want to be known, but you know, obviously they kind of get, I guess, brought down by stuff like this happening, where they don't get included in other categories, and then also the best VTuber category goes to someone who doesn't associate themselves with the VTuber community. I think, you know, that probably does suck quite a bit. You know, sure, if Ironmouse ended up winning best duo, maybe this would have been a better kind of situation, because she did manage to win something, right? But at the end of the day, no, that just didn't happen, right? And, you know, VTubers as a whole essentially went away with nothing, right? The VTuber community went away with nothing, even when they had their own category, right? Which I think is pretty insane. But they say, I agree 100% with this statement. This is obviously virtual YouTubers agreeing with Maple Chicken's kind of response to this as well. Saying, honestly, agreed. I'm sure the guy's content is great, but it is a little bit disheartening, which 100% is true. They say, this reminds me of Megabonk removing itself from the TGA debut indie for not considering themselves as debut, kinda, I guess. And yeah, it does kind of feel like that. They say, as both a VTuber fan and an F1 fan, this is probably going to be the sentiment in the F1 community in a few hours when Lando Norris takes out the title, which, yeah, obviously they're talking about F1, which he did actually end up taking the title, so great. But yeah, obviously there's been a lot of people talking about this and kind of, I guess, referring to different kind of things in the community. Say, I think it just shows how much of a joke the award show is, as in people were voting for him for the memes and he didn't even want it. That said, he technically does count. Also, a couple of factors. One, VTuber fans don't vote a lot for this. Two, biggest VTubers are Japanese and don't vote. Three, much of the VTuber community is on YouTube, and this is very Twitch-centric. Four, VTuber networks are with each other, but have a lot, but a lot don't network with the popular streamers. Five, a lot of people still hate VTubers, which I think is actually a fair assessment of what has really gone on. And again, obviously, whenever Maple talks about the fact that there's not a lot of VTubers in the other categories, I think it does come down to a lot of those things that that person mentioned there, right? I think it comes down to the fact that you don't see very many VTubers interacting with people outside of the space, apart from some of the ones that are obviously mentioned within the VTuber category, like, for example, Ironmouse and stuff like that, who have managed to, you know, break out of just the VTuber category because she does her, you know, collabs with Seadog and other people as well, which obviously is great to see. So maybe, you know, if more VTubers could potentially collaborate with people outside of the VTuber space too, that could be pretty cool, because again, obviously, even with the the little like, I don't know how to describe it other than a halftime show, where essentially Ironmouse and Marco Meatball did something. Obviously, Marco Meatball isn't like fully in the VTuber community or anything like that, but it is still a really cool collab, and that really shows off exactly how much she has grown. So I do think it is true that, it's not entirely just the Streamer Awards fault for essentially, not allowing VTubers into other categories and being involved with that kind of stuff. I think it does come down to, obviously, fans voting and how well known they are outside of the VTuber space as a whole. I think that is a huge factor. But again, it's still disheartening to see that they aren't included as much. And obviously with the award on top of it, it does kind of add, not the best of times for a lot of people in the VTuber community, right? And also we got the original post on Virtual YouTubers saying, well, it was a good run. Congratulations, Peanut. And again, I think a lot of these sentiments towards Peanut have been actually really, really positive, right? I think there's been many people that are more mad at the Streamer Awards for allowing it to happen rather than, the BurntPeanut themselves, because everyone could acknowledge that, he's done a really good job and that he's actually, provided a great experience for a lot of people, right? But at the same time, some people aren't happy about how the categories have been handled and things like that. They say the guy who said multiple times that he's not a VTuber, won Best VTuber, said meme votes won out. Say because his stick is that he's an actual peanut, can't be a VTuber if you're an IRL peanut. Dude even showed up to an IRL event in a giant peanut costume. Said that doesn't make sense. He's still using a virtual avatar. And yeah, I don't think that makes sense either. I think that him showing up to an IRL event isn't some kind of like rebuttal, because again, many other VTubers show up to IRL events. For example, like Shiley, Silverveil, people like that. They actually show up to conventions and things in person. That doesn't make them any less of a VTuber. That just makes them a VTuber who's not too scared to go out in public and, obviously meet people IRL, right? So again, I don't think that kind of adds any kind of point to that. Obviously, it's a genuine question. Promise I'm not throwing shade or hate, but where did this guy come from? I've never seen it. And again, I think he's just blew up. Yeah, obviously, I said they blew up from the Tarkov community. And as I said, he's been doing pretty insane with all of that kind of stuff. He exploded with Arc Raiders as well, which, yeah, I think that, a lot of the votes that he's gotten and a lot of the attention that he's gotten is obviously due to the gimmick of that he is a peanut. And obviously, that is extremely smart. He, the fact that he's a peanut has obviously captured a lot of viewers and attention. And, I think that has worked out very well for him. But it will be interesting to see next year at the Stream Awards whether he will still be voted for Best VTuber and how his analytics are going to be looking like later on, because it seems like we've caught him right during the boom of his kind of career. And I think that, maybe next year is going to continue and that he's going to be one of the biggest streamers on the platform, or maybe it will fall off a little bit. Again, we'll have to wait and see, but it is very interesting to kind of look at, and also look at a lot of the responses, because again, as I said, we've gone through a lot of the responses here. I know in the previous video that I made on this, there's a lot of people angry, a lot of people saying like cope and things. Again, I don't really care who wins Best VTuber, like personally. Obviously, I think the BurntPeanut does deserve it and does actually have had a really good kind of couple months and stuff like that, which again, I think he does deserve it. That's not coping. But again, I could also see if Ironmouse or Mori Calliope or all these other people did win it, I could also see them winning it because they've also put in a lot of work themselves. All of them have put in a lot of work, and I think they all know that within the comments and stuff like that, right? But again, people are saying like cope and things. Again, I don't know if you haven't watched the video or whatever, but we've been covering both sides. We've been covering the sides that are kind of like, kind of talking about the negative side of things and how, the BurntPeanut technically isn't a VTuber or technically is a VTuber or whatever. We've been covering both sides of that argument, and I think that is the most important thing to talk about, rather than just be like, they didn't win, whatever, because that's not really the conversation we're having here. We're just kind of talking about it, kind of just showing you exactly what is going on and the overall reaction from both of the sides that have been going on at the moment. So again, I just thought I'd clarify that as well, because I did find that a little bit weird in the comments, right? Because again, I wasn't really taking any sides there, and sure, you can say, oh, you're fence sitting or whatever, but at the end of the day, I don't care. It's the Stream Awards. It's a dumb show anyways. And yeah, I think that BurntPeanut deserves it. All the other VTubers also deserve it too if they did win. And, that's that really at the end of the day. And it's already done. You can't do anything about it. You're not going to change the award at the end of the day. But yeah, I do think that, many of the other VTubers also did deserve it too. But that's just life. Sometimes you don't win things, and that's okay. Maybe they'll win it next year, and hopefully they do win it next year, to kind of show how much the VTuber community really is I guess, together, because I think this is more of like a wake-up call, I guess, for people to actually put some resources behind it and try to win this category, right? Because if BurntPeanut comes around next year because he's been doing great again or whatever, right, and he's in the category, I'm sure there will be some kind of collective effort to make one streamer win, whether it's Ironmouse or whoever, right? I'm sure the community might actually be a little bit stronger and better off next time actually to get these votes and to get their favorite streamer to essentially win. And yeah, we've got the Game Awards coming up soon as well, which I'm pretty sure he's also nominated for, alongside another VTuber, Sakura Miko. I think she got nominated. So yeah, we're gonna have to see how that one turns out in a couple of days' time. So yeah, I mean, it's been pretty crazy. At the end of the day, as I said, I don't care. It's not really that big of a deal. But yeah, if you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to Game Subs, use my code Kaza, get 10% off. Again, they've got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.